The great hall of Nexus Prime was filled with thousands of alien creatures. They came from every corner of the galaxy. Some had scales. Some had tentacles. Some floated in the air without any legs at all. They spoke in hundreds of languages, but translation devices made every word clear. This was the Galactic Assembly, where the most powerful races in the universe gathered to make decisions about trade, war, and peace. Today, something unusual was happening. A new species had come to request membership. They called themselves humans, and they came from a small blue planet called Earth. Ambassador Choi Dae-sung stood at the center of the great hall. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. Behind him stood 5 other humans, all wearing simple black uniforms. They looked small compared to the massive aliens around them. Some of the creatures in the hall were 3 times their size. Others had armor-like skin or claws that could cut through metal. The humans had nothing like that. They looked soft, weak, breakable. Overlord Kreth watched them from his throne at the highest point of the hall. He was the ruler of the Valorian Dominion, the most powerful empire in the galaxy. His body was covered in dark purple scales, and his eyes glowed like burning coals. He had conquered over 200 worlds. He had destroyed entire civilizations. And now, these tiny creatures from a forgotten corner of space dared to stand before him as equals. It was amusing. So, Kreth said, his voice booming across the hall, these are the humans we have heard about, the ones who finally learned to travel between stars. He leaned forward on his throne. Tell me, little ambassador, why should we allow your kind into our assembly? Ambassador Choi bowed his head slightly in respect. We come in peace, Overlord. Earth wishes to trade with other worlds. We wish to share knowledge and culture. We believe that cooperation between species can benefit everyone. Silence filled the hall. Then, laughter. It started with War Marshal Dren, who stood beside Kreth's throne. Dren was a massive Valorian warrior with scars covering his face. He had led countless battles and never lost. The idea that these soft pink creatures wanted to be partners was the funniest thing he had ever heard. Cooperation? Dren laughed. Look at them. They have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons at all. Their bones are hollow. Their skin tears like paper. And they live for what? 80 years? 90? He shook his head. They are insects. Nothing more. Other aliens joined the laughter. A creature with 8 eyes called humans, walking meat. A being made of living crystal said their technology looked like children's toys. A slug-like ambassador from another world asked if humans were perhaps meant to be food rather than members. Through all of this, Ambassador Choi did not move. His face remained calm. His eyes showed no anger, no fear, no shame. He simply waited. When the laughter finally died down, Overlord Kreth raised one clawed hand for silence. Enough entertainment, he said. Let us speak of reality. He stood from his throne, and his shadow fell over the human delegation like a dark cloud. Your little fleet of 12 ships is cute. Your weapons are primitive. Your world has resources that the Dominion requires. So here is what will happen. He walked down the steps slowly, each footfall echoing through the silent hall. Earth will give the Valorian Dominion 40% of its resources. You will provide these as tribute every standard cycle. In exchange, we will allow your species to continue existing. He stopped directly in front of Ambassador Choi, towering over him. You have 30 of your Earth days to accept. If you refuse, we will burn your planet to ashes and take everything anyway. The other aliens watched with interest. This was normal. This was how the Dominion operated. Weak species either served or died. Ambassador Choi looked up at the Overlord. He did not step back. He did not tremble. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but clear enough for everyone to hear. "Overlord Kreth," he said, "we did not come here to beg. We came here to offer friendship. We came with open hands and hopeful hearts." He paused. "But understand this clearly. We will not give you our resources. We will not bow to your threats. And we will not be conquered." Dren burst out laughing again. "Did this insect just threaten us?" "Not a threat," Ambassador Choi said. "A warning. Humanity has never been conquered. Not by disease. Not by disaster. Not by ourselves, though we tried many times. And we will not be conquered by you." He looked around the hall at all the watching aliens. Many have underestimated us before. All of them regretted it. Overlord Kreth stared at the human for a long moment. Then he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 30 days, little ambassador. Enjoy them. They will be your last." He turned and walked back to his throne. The audience was overdot as the human delegation was escorted out of the great hall. War Marshal Dren leaned close to his master. "Should I send the armada now? We could end them before they even return home." Kreth shook his head. "Let them have their 30 days. Let them look at their children and their cities and know that everything they love will soon be destroyed. Fear is a weapon too, Marshal. When we finally strike, I want them to have suffered first." "As you command, Overlord." But in the back of the hall, one Valorian did not share her leader's confidence. Envoy Silka had served the Dominion for many years. She had seen countless species face this same situation. Most begged for mercy. Some cried. Some tried to fight back with desperate fury. None of them had ever looked like that human ambassador. None of them had ever shown such calm in the face of destruction. It was not courage, she realized. It was something else. Something that looked almost like certainty. She made a note to research Earth history more carefully. Far away, on that small blue planet, Admiral Kang Tae-ho received the transmission from Ambassador Choi. He read the Overlord's demands. He watched the recording of the Assembly's mockery. His face showed no emotion. He stood before the United Earth Council, a group of leaders from every nation on the planet. They all looked at him, waiting for his response to this terrible news. Admiral Kang spoke 5 words. "Activate Protocol Omega. Wake the fleet." Deep beneath the mountains, deep beneath the oceans, deep beneath the surface of the moon, something began to stir. Lights that had been dark for 200 years flickered to life. Engines that had never been used began to hum with power. And in shipyards hidden in the folds of space itself, 10,000 warships received their orders. Humanity had been preparing for this day for a very long time. The galaxy thought Earth weak. Galaxy was about to learn how wrong it was. 20 days had passed since the humiliation at the Galactic Assembly. Earth had not surrendered. Earth had not begged for mercy. Instead, Earth had sent one more ship. The vessel was called Messenger of Peace. It was small and unarmed, painted white to show peaceful intentions. Commander Yoon Soo-mi stood at its helm, a woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. She carried humanity's final offer to the Valorian Dominion: peace, trade, and mutual respect between 2 civilizations. She knew the chances of success were small. But humans always tried one more time before fighting. The Messenger of Peace crossed into Valorian space near the Orion Belt. Almost immediately, 20 warships surrounded it, their weapons locked onto the small white vessel. A message came through the communication system. "Human ship, you are trespassing in Dominion territory. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Commander Yoon pressed the transmit button. "This is Commander Yoon Soo-mi of the Earth vessel, Messenger of Peace. I carry a diplomatic message for Overlord Kreth. I request safe passage to deliver the transmission was cut off. Valorian soldiers boarded her ship within minutes. They dragged Commander Yoon and her crew of 6 to War Marshal Dren's command station. Dren was pleased. A human officer would make excellent entertainment. He ordered cameras to broadcast across all Valorian colonies. Millions of Valorians would watch as he broke this weak creature from the weak species that dared to refuse their overlord. Commander Yoon was brought before him in chains. Dren circled her slowly, like a predator studying prey. "So," he said, "you came to talk peace. How touching." He grabbed her chin and forced her to look at him. "Tell your little recording device back home what happens to species that refuse the Dominion." Yoon's eyes met his without fear. "You are making a mistake." Dren laughed and struck her across the face. She fell to the ground, but did not cry out. "The only mistake," Dren said, "was your species learning to leave your pathetic planet." The broadcast played across Valorian space. Soldiers laughed at the helpless humans. Citizens celebrated the coming conquest of Earth. Everyone agreed that these soft creatures would be easy to crush. Only Envoy Silka did not celebrate. She had done her research on Earth history. She had read about their wars, their struggles, their incredible ability to survive and adapt. Something about this situation felt wrong. Why was the human commander so calm? Why did Earth keep sending messages instead of preparing defenses? She requested a private meeting with War Marshal Dren. "Marshal," she said carefully, "I have concerns about the Earth operation." Dren barely looked at her. "What concerns?" "They have 12 ships. We have 50,000. This is not a battle. It is an execution. Their behavior is unusual," Silka pressed. "They show no fear. They make no desp. Irate moves. Their ambassador spoke as if he knew something we do not. This human commander, she looked at you like she was the one in control, not you." Dren's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Are you suggesting I am afraid of insects?" "No, Marshal. I am suggesting we investigate before we attack. Perhaps send scouts to observe their enough." Dren waved his hand dismissively. "You have spent too much time on diplomacy, Envoy. You have forgotten what real power looks like. In 10 days, Earth will be ash. The discussion is over." Silka bowed and left. She had tried. History would remember that she had tried. On Earth, the broadcast of Commander Yoon's capture played on every screen. Admiral Kang Tae-ho watched it in his command center. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Park Yuna stood beside him, her hands trembling with anger. "We have to rescue her," Yuna said. "We will," Admiral Kang replied calmly. "But not yet. Everything must happen at the right time." He turned to a holographic display showing Earth and its surrounding space. Red dots represented Valorian scouts watching from a distance. Blue dots represented Earth's visible fleet of 12 patrol ships, but there were other dots on the display. Green ones. Thousands of them, hidden in fold space, a dimension between normal space where ships could hide completely. The Valorians had no idea they existed. "Show me the Titan Array status," Admiral Kang ordered. A new display appeared. Earth's surface was marked with hundreds of points. The moon had even more. These were weapon installations, built deep underground over 2 centuries. Hidden from all detection. Dr. Song Hana appeared on the communication screen. She was a small woman with tired eyes and oil-stained hands. She had spent her entire life preparing for this moment. "Admiral," she reported, "the Titan Array is at 98% readiness. All rail cannons are charged. Targeting systems are linked. We can fire on your command." "Excellent work, Doctor." "And the solar lens?" "The Wrath of Terra completed final testing this morning. The weapon works perfectly." She allowed herself a small smile. "When they see what it can do, They will wish they had been kinder. Admiral Kong nodded. Thank you, Doctor. Continue preparations. The enemy will arrive soon. On another screen, Lieutenant Beek-Jin appeared. He was the youngest officer on the command staff, but his mind was sharper than anyone else's. He specialized in breaking enemy communications and systems. Admiral, I have fully decoded Valorian military transmissions, he said. Their attack plan is a three-pronged assault. 50,000 ships will approach Earth from 3 directions simultaneously. They plan to overwhelm our defenses through pure numbers. When? 10 days from now. They want to arrive exactly at the deadline they gave us. Captain Park Yuna stepped forward. Sir, we should strike first. Hit them before they are ready. Admiral Kong shook his head. No, we gave them a warning. We offered peace. They must be the ones to attack first. The galaxy must see that we tried everything before we fought back. He looked at his officers with calm certainty. When historians write about this war, they will write that humanity wanted peace. And they will write that when war came, humanity finished it. He opened a channel to all hidden ships and installations. This is Admiral Kong to all forces. In 10 days, the Valorian Dominion will attack our home. They believe we are weak. They believe we are helpless. They believe they will destroy us easily. His voice hardened. They are wrong. For 200 years, we have prepared for this moment. Not because we wanted war, but because we knew that one day, someone would try to take what is ours. That day has come. He paused, letting his words sink in. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier, we are ready. When the enemy arrives, they will find not a defenseless world, but a fortress. They will find not prey, but predators. They will find not 12 ships, but 10,000. Across Earth's hidden fleet, soldiers and crews listened. They felt fear, but also pride. They had trained their whole lives for this. Rest well, Admiral Khan concluded. Prepare your minds and your hearts. And when the time comes, we will show the galaxy what humanity is made of. The transmission ended in fold space. 10,000 warships waited in darkness on Earth. Weapons that could crack planets hummed with power in a Valorian prison cell. Commander Yoon Soo-mi sat quietly and waited. She knew rescue would come. She knew the Valorians had no idea what was about to happen. She almost felt sorry for them. The Valorian armada was the most terrifying sight in the galaxy. 50,000 warships moved through space like a wave of death. Their hulls were black and covered with weapons. Their engines burned with red fire. Each ship carried enough power to destroy a city. Together, they could burn entire worlds to nothing. War. Marshal Dren stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Fury. He watched his fleet advance toward the small blue planet ahead. Earth, the arrogant little world that had dared to refuse the Dominion. Status report. He commanded. All ships in position. Marshal, his tactical officer replied. Earth's defense fleet detected. 12 vessels, as expected. They are holding position near their moon. Dren smiled. 12 ships against 50,000. This would not be a battle. It would be a slaughter. Open a channel to the human fleet, he ordered. I want them to hear their death sentence. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, Marshal. Dren cleared his throat and spoke with cold satisfaction. Attention, human vessels. This is War Marshal Dren of the Valorian Dominion. Your time has run out. Your leaders refused our generous offer. Now you will watch your world burn. Perhaps in your final moments, you will understand the cost of defiance. He waited for a response. Begging, perhaps. Crying. Maybe desperate offers of surrender. Instead, A calm voice answered him. War Marshal Dren, this is Admiral Kang Tae-ho of Earth's United Fleet. You were warned. You were given every chance to choose peace. You chose war instead. There was a pause. You will regret that choice. Dren laughed. Regret? Look at your pathetic fleet, human. 12 ships against my armada. What can you possibly? His words stopped. His laughter died. His blood turned cold dot behind Earth's moon. Space itself began to tear open dot. It started as small ripples, like stones thrown into a pond. Then the ripples grew larger, brighter. Reality itself seemed to crack and break. And from those cracks, shapes began to emerge. Ships, massive ships. Warships larger than anything the Valorians had ever built. They came by the hundreds, then by the thousands. They poured out of fold space in endless waves, filling the void around Earth with steel and fire, destroyers, cruisers, battleships, carriers, loaded with fighters, and at the center of it all, something even larger. A ship so massive that it blocked out the stars behind it, 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that glowed with terrible energy, dot the wrath of Terra. Humanity's ultimate weapon. Dren's tactical officer spoke with a trembling voice. Marshal, I am reading 10,247 enemy warships. Energy signatures are. They are off our scales. I have never seen readings like this. The bridge crew stared at their screens in disbelief. This was impossible. The humans were supposed to be primitive, weak. How could they have hidden an entire fleet? How could they have built weapons like this without anyone knowing? Dren gripped the railing in front of him until his claws drew blood. This changes nothing, he growled. We still outnumber them, 5 to 1. All ships, prepare to attack. We will crush them with superior numbers. But even as he gave the order, doubt crept into his heart. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Captain Park Yuna watched the Valorian fleet hesitate. She smiled grimly. They were afraid. Good. They should be afraid. Admiral Kang, she said through her communicator, the fleet is in position, awaiting your orders. The Admiral's voice came through clear and steady. Captain, you will lead the vanguard. Take 500 assault cruisers and hit their center formation. Show them how humans fight. With pleasure, sir. She turned to her crew. They were young, most of them. Born during peacetime. Trained in simulations. None of them had ever fought a real battle. But they were ready. She could see it in their eyes. Listen to me, she said. Today, the galaxy will learn what we are made of. Today, every species that ever looked down on us will understand their mistake. We fight for our homes. We fight for our families. We fight for every human who ever lived and every human who will ever be born. She drew her ceremonial blade and raised it high. We are humanity, and we do not lose. The crew erupted in cheers not far away on the Valorian command ship. Envoy Silka watched the chaos on the bridge. Officers shouted conflicting orders. Dren screamed at his subordinates. Fear spread through the crew like a disease. She had warned them. She had told them something was wrong. They had not listened. Now, looking at the massive human fleet, she understood what she had missed. Humans were not weak. They had simply been hiding their strength. All those decades of appearing harmless, appearing primitive, it was a mask. Behind that mask was something terrifying. They were never prey, she whispered to herself. They were the predator waiting in the dark. On Earth's moon, Dr. Song Hana stood in the command center of the Titan array. Hundreds of screens showed weapon status, targeting data, and power levels. Around her, technicians worked frantically to prepare the final systems. Doctor, a technician called out. All rail cannons are charged and ready. Targeting solutions confirmed for the lead Valorian formations. Song Hannah nodded. The rail cannons were her life's work. Each one could fire a projectile at 12% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small piece of metal carried more destructive power than a nuclear bomb. And the Titan array had 300 of these weapons. She opened a channel to Admiral Kong. Titan arrays ready, Admiral. Say the word, and we end this. Wait for my signal, Doctor. Let them come a little closer. I want them to think they still have a chance. The Valorian armada advanced, though more slowly now. Their confidence was shattered, but pride drove them forward. War Marshal Dren refused to retreat. He had never retreated in his life. He would not start now. Lieutenant Beek Jin worked furiously at his console, aboard the command station. His fingers flew across controls as he monitored every Valorian communication, every ship movement, every tactical decision. Admiral, he reported, I have identified their command ship and all major vessels. Their formation is tight. If we hit them hard and fast, we can break their coordination in the first strike. Excellent work, Lieutenant. Prepare the Ghost Protocol. The Ghost Protocol was Beek Jin's masterpiece. It was a cyber weapon designed to infiltrate Valorian systems and disable their shields, weapons, and communications. Months of work had gone into understanding their technology. Now, all that work would pay off. Admiral Kong looked at the tactical display one final time. The Valorian fleet was now fully within range. His own forces were positioned perfectly. The Titan array was ready. The Ghost Protocol was loaded about 200 years of preparation. Centuries of secret work. Generations of scientists, engineers, and soldiers who had dedicated their lives to this moment. It was time. He opened a channel to all ships, all weapons, all personnel. This is Admiral Kong. All forces are authorized to engage. His voice carried the weight of humanity's entire history. Fire. The void of space exploded with light. The Titan array fired first. 300 rail cannons launched their deadly projectiles at hypersonic speeds. The shots were invisible, moving too fast for any eye or sensor to track. One moment, Valorian dreadnoughts hung in space. The next moment, they vanished in explosions of fire and metal. 12 capital ships destroyed in the first volley. Then the human fleet moved. Captain Park. Yuna's vanguard sliced into the Valorian formation like a blade through flesh. Human ships were smaller but faster. Human pilots could handle extreme maneuvers that would kill other species. They dodged enemy fire. They struck weak points. They turned every disadvantage into an advantage. The Wrath of Terra advanced slowly, like a mountain moving through space. Its weapons had not yet fired. It was saving its strength for the right moment. The battle for Earth had begun, and the Valorians were already losing. Space around Earth had become a storm of fire and death. Explosions lit up the darkness like 1,000 suns. Ships burned and broke apart. Debris flew in all directions. Screens and orders filled every communication channel. The Valorian armada was dying. Captain Park Yuna pushed her ship, the Eternal Dawn, into a sharp dive that would have crushed any Valorian pilot. Her crew handled the extreme forces easily. Humans had trained their bodies for this. They could survive maneuvers that other species could not even imagine. Target their engine sections, she ordered. Disable, then destroy. Her squadron of 500 assault cruisers tore through the Valorian center formation. They moved like wolves hunting in a pack, covering each other, attacking in coordinated waves. Every shot was precise. Every movement was calculated. The Valorians tried to track them, but their targeting systems were too slow. By the time they locked on, the human ships were already gone, appearing from another angle to deliver another deadly strike. War Marshal Dren watched his fleet crumble with growing horror. His screens showed red warning lights everywhere. Ship after ship reported damage or destruction. His once mighty armada was being torn apart by creatures he had called insects. "Get those targeting systems working," he roared. "Why can we not hit them?" "Marshal," his tactical officer said with a shaking voice, "something is attacking our computers. Our shields are failing. Our weapons are not responding properly. It is some kind of electronic attack." Lieutenant Beek Jin smiled as he watched the Ghost protocol work perfectly. From his station, he had infected 30% of the Valorian fleet with the cyberweapon. Their shields flickered and died. Their weapons fired at empty space. Their engines stuttered and failed. The mighty Valorian warships became helpless targets. "Admiral," Beek Jin reported, "Ghost protocol is exceeding expectations. Enemy coordination is breaking down. They cannot communicate with each other effectively." Admiral Kang nodded. "Excellent. It is time for the Wrath of Terra to join the battle." The massive dreadnought had been waiting at the center of the human formation. Now it began to move forward. Its engines roared with power that shook the surrounding space. Weapons along its hull glowed with building energy. At its core, the solar lance prepared to fire. The solar lance was humanity's most terrible weapon. It used contained solar plasma, the same fire that burned at the heart of stars, focused into a single devastating beam. Nothing in the known galaxy could survive a direct hit. Dr. Song Hana monitored the weapon from her control center on the moon. "Solar lance charged to maximum," she reported. "Target: enemy escort formation around the command ship." "Admiral, we are ready." "Fire," Admiral Kung commanded. A beam of pure golden light erupted from the Wrath of Terra. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, like looking directly at the sun. The beam crossed the distance to the Valorian fleet in less than a second. 200 ships vanished. They did not explode. They did not burn. They simply ceased to exist. The solar lance turned metal and flesh into atoms, scattering them across the void like dust in the wind. Silence fell across every communication channel. Both sides stopped fighting for a moment, stunned by what they had just witnessed. Then the humans cheered, and the Valorians screamed in terror. Dren stared at the empty space where 200 of his ships had been. His escorts, his protection, gone in a single flash of light. What was that?" he whispered. No one could answer him. On Earth's moon, Dr. Song Hana initiated the second phase of their attack. "Deploy the swarm," she ordered. From hidden launch bays across Luna's surface, millions of small drones poured into space. Each drone was no bigger than a human fist, but they carried powerful cutting lasers and magnetic disruptors. They moved in perfect coordination, controlled by artificial intelligence that could react faster than any living pilot. The swarm descended on the Valorian fleet like a plague of locusts. Drones attached themselves to ship hulls and began cutting through armor. They targeted engines, weapons, and shield generators. They crawled into exhaust ports and destroyed power systems from the inside. Individual drones were weak, but millions of them together could bring down even the largest warship. Valorian crews panicked. They tried to shoot the drones, but there were too many. For every drone they destroyed, 10 more took its place. Ships that had survived the main battle now fell to the tiny machines. Far from the main battle, a special operations team approached a Valorian prison ship. Sergeant Han Woo-jin led 12 soldiers through the chaos of the battlefield. Their small assault craft was designed for stealth, invisible to most sensors. "Target in sight," Han Woo-jin announced. Preparing for boarding action, they docked with the prison ship and cut through the hull. Valorian guards rushed to stop them, but human soldiers were trained for close combat. They moved with speed and precision, taking down enemies before they could even raise their weapons docked in her cell. Commander Yoon Soo-mi heard the sounds of fighting. Then the door exploded inward. Sergeant Han Woo-jin stood in the opening, offering his hand. "Commander," he said with a slight smile, "your ride is here." She took his hand and stood. Her body was bruised from Dren's interrogation, but her spirit was unbroken. "What is happening out there?" "We are winning, ma'am. The Valorian fleet is being destroyed." They ran through the corridors of the prison ship. Through viewports, Commander Yoon saw the battle raging outside. She saw Valorian ships burning. She saw the massive form of the Wrath of Terra firing its weapons again and again. She saw humanity's hidden fleet crushing the enemy that had mocked them. "They had no idea," she said quietly. "They never knew what we were capable of." "No, ma'am," Han Woo-jin agreed. "They did not." Back on the Dominion's fury, War Marshal Dren faced the ruin of everything he had built. His fleet was shattered. Of 50,000 ships, fewer than 10,000 still functioned. And those were being hunted down one by one. His tactical officer approached with terror in his eyes. "Marshal, we must retreat. If we stay, we will all die." Dren wanted to refuse. He wanted to fight to the last ship, to prove that he was not afraid. But he was afraid. For the first time in his long life, he knew real fear. "Send a message to all surviving ships," he said, his voice hollow. "Fall back to Valorian space. Full retreat." Across the battlefield, human sensors detected the Valorian ships turning to flee. Captain Park Yuna opened a channel to Admiral Kong. "Sir, they are running." "Let them go," Admiral Kong replied. "Let them carry the story of what happened here back to their overlord. Let every Valorian know what happens to those who threaten Earth." He opened a channel to the retreating enemy fleet. "War Marshal Dren, your fleet is broken. Your soldiers are dead. You came here expecting easy prey, and you found a predator instead. Run back to your master. Tell him what you saw today. And tell him this: the next time the Dominion threatens humanity, we will not wait for you to come to us. We will bring the fire to your worlds." Dren did not respond. He could not. He simply stared at the ruins of his armada as his ship limped away from the battlefield. Admiral Kong turned off the channel and closed his eyes. The battle was won. But he knew the war was not over yet. Overlord Kreth would have to answer for what his Dominion had started, and humanity would make sure he answered fully. The throne room of Overlord Kreth was silent. Normally, it was filled with advisors, servants, and warriors celebrating victories. Now, it was empty except for the Overlord himself and Envoy Silka. Kreth sat on his throne, staring at the holographic display before him. It showed the wreckage of his armada. Ships torn apart, bodies floating in the void. The remains of 50,000 vessels scattered across human space. How many survived? He asked. His voice was quiet, tired. "Fewer than 4,000 ships made it back," Silka replied. "War Marshal Dren is among them, though barely. His flagship was badly damaged. And the humans? What were their losses?" Silka hesitated before answering. "Minimal, Overlord. Fewer than 300 ships destroyed. Perhaps 1,000 damaged." Kreth closed his eyes. 300 against 46,000. It was not a defeat. It was an annihilation. "They hid everything," he said slowly. "For 200 years, they pretended to be weak. They let us believe they were nothing. And all that time, they were building ... this. Yes, Overlord." He opened his eyes and looked at Silka. "You warned us. You told Dren something was wrong. He did not listen." "No, Overlord. He did not." Kreth was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke the words he had never expected to say. What are our options for surrender? Across the galaxy, the news of the battle for Earth spread like wildfire. Every species, every world, every station heard the story. The arrogant Valorians, the undefeated conquerors, had been crushed by the very species they had mocked. The humans, those soft creatures from that little blue planet, had revealed a fleet so powerful that nothing in the galaxy could match it, and they had won without losing even 1% of their forces. Fear rippled through the Dominion's conquered worlds. Hope bloomed in the hearts of species that had been enslaved for generations. Everything was changing. 2 weeks after the battle, Overlord Kreth's ship arrived at Nexus Prime, the same station where he had humiliated humanity's ambassador, the same hall where he had laughed at their weakness. Now, he came as a defeated ruler seeking peace. Admiral Kang Teho waited for him at the entrance to the Great Hall. Captain Park Yuna stood at his side, along with Lieutenant Beek Chin, Dr. Song Hana, and Commander Yoon Soo-mi. Behind them stood 100 human soldiers in ceremonial armor. Kreth's escort was much smaller, just Envoy Silka and 2 guards. He had been told to come with minimal forces. He had no choice but to obey. The Overlord stopped in front of Admiral Kong. For a long moment, the 2 leaders studied each other. Kreth was taller, larger, covered in scales and claws. But Kang showed no fear. His eyes were calm and steady. Overlord Kreth, the Admiral said. Welcome to Nexus Prime. Kreth's jaw tightened. Admiral Kang, I have come to discuss terms of peace. Not peace, Kang corrected him. Surrender. The word hung in the air like a blade. Kreth's claws clenched, but he controlled himself. He had already lost. Fighting now would only make things worse. Very well, he said through gritted teeth. Surrender. They entered the Great Hall, the same hall that had once laughed at humanity. Now, representatives from every species watched in stunned silence as the mighty Overlord walked to the center and faced the humans. Ambassador Choi Dae-sung stepped forward with a document. These are our terms, he said. First, the Valorian Dominion will pay full reparations for the Chi attack on Earth and for the imprisonment and mistreatment of our diplomatic personnel. Kreth nodded stiffly. Second, the Dominion will immediately end its tribute system. No more species will be forced to give resources as payment for existing. This was harder to accept. The tribute system was the foundation of Valorian wealth. But Kreth nodded again. Third, all species currently enslaved by the Dominion will be freed. They will be given the choice to govern themselves or to seek protection from other powers. Kreth's eyes flashed with anger, but he had no power to refuse. Agreed. Fourth, Earth and its allies will be recognized as equal powers in the galaxy. Any future aggression against humanity or its partners will be considered an act of war. Agreed. Ambassador Choi rolled up the document. Then we are finished. You may return to your worlds, Overlord. We will be watching. Kreth turned to leave, but Envoy Silka spoke up. Admiral Kang, may I ask a question? Kang looked at her with curiosity. You may. The fleet we saw at Earth, ... That was your defensive force, was it not? Your home defense fleet. The hall grew even quieter. Everyone wanted to hear the answer. Admiral Kang smiled slightly. You are correct, Envoy. What you saw was designed to protect Earth itself. Our offensive capabilities are ... different. Silka nodded slowly. She had suspected as much. I see. Thank you, Admiral. Kreth's face paled even further. If what they had faced was only the defense fleet, what horrors did humanity keep hidden for attack? He did not want to find out. The Valorian delegation left quickly. 3 months later, Captain Park Yuna stood on the surface of Earth's moon. Around her, construction crews were building a memorial for the soldiers who had died in the battle. 300 ships lost. Nearly 10,000 lives. It was a small number compared to the enemy's losses. But every life mattered. She looked at the names carved into the stone. Young men and women who had given everything to protect their home. Heroes who would never see the world they had saved. Dr. Song Hannah approached and stood beside her. "The Galactic Council has sent another request," she said. "They want access to our weapons technology. Many species hope to defend themselves against future threats." What did the Admiral say? He said perhaps someday, when they learn to ask politely. She smiled slightly. "I think I understand what he means." In the command center beneath the ocean, Admiral Kong Tai-ho reviewed reports from across human space. New treaties were being signed. Trade routes were opening. Species that had once dismissed humanity now sought alliances and partnerships. Lieutenant Beek Jin entered with a data tablet. "Admiral, I have the latest intelligence from former Dominion space. Many of the enslaved species have begun forming their own governments. Some are asking for our help." "We will help where we can," Kong replied. "But we will not become what the Dominion was. We will not conquer. We will not demand tribute." "Of course not, sir." Beek Jin paused. "Sir, may I ask something?" "Go ahead. What happens now?" "We won the war. The Dominion is broken. What is next for humanity?" Admiral Kong stood and walked to a window that looked out into the dark water. Lights from distant ships moved slowly in the depths. "Now we make sure no one ever threatens our home again," he said. "We build. We explore. We make friends with those who deserve friendship. And we remain ready, always, for those who do not." He placed a hand on the young lieutenant's shoulder. "The galaxy thought we were weak because we wanted peace. They will learn that wanting peace and being weak are not the same thing. We are strong enough to destroy anyone who threatens us. But we are wise enough to know that destruction should always be the last choice, not the first." Beek Jin nodded. "I understand, sir." Somewhere far above, past the oceans and the atmosphere and the darkness of space, Earth floated peacefully in the void. A small blue world orbiting an ordinary star. Home to a species that the galaxy had underestimated. They had called humans weak. They had mocked their softness. They had laughed at their small fleet and their primitive technology. They had learned the truth the hard way. Humanity did not start wars. But when war came to them, they finished it. They had survived everything their universe had thrown at them: ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and even their own worst impulses. And they would continue to survive, because that was what humans did. The stars waited, vast and full of mysteries. And humanity, now respected and feared, was ready to explore them. Together. As equals. Forever.